Imagine getting up every day full of energy as if you were in your 20s again. What would that be like? What would it be worth to you? What is your health worth to you? Think about it. Your health isn't everything, but without it, everything else is nothing. And yet, too many of us are taking it for granted until something goes wrong. And no one wakes up hoping to be diagnosed with a disease or chronic illness. And yet, we've never been taught how to be proactive in our health through our school or public health. As a registered health coach and integrative health practitioner, I believe it's time this information is made available to everyone. Combining new knowledge around your health and the ability to do my functional medicine lab tests in the comfort of your own home will allow you to optimize your health for today and all your tomorrows. Don't wait for your wake-up call. Welcome back to another episode of the Don't Wait for Your Wake-Up Call podcast. I am Melissa Deely, your host, and I have a question for you today. Have you ever heard that term that you have everything you need within you to do whatever it is you are meant to do here in this lifetime on planet Earth? And has it made you wonder, what does that really mean? Well, I was there, and now I understand what it means, and I want to share that with you in this episode today and share with you how you can access what is within you. Because it's one thing to know that you have it within you. It's quite another thing to actually be able to access it. And before I even go there, I want to ask the question as well. Are you feeling stuck? Because I know that many of the people that I work with are feeling stuck in their life. And they are stuck because they are lacking resources. And they're lacking those resources simply because they don't have the awareness of what is having them feel stuck in their life, as well as the awareness in how to access those resources, which comes back to you have everything within you that you need to fulfill your purpose in this lifetime. The resources are within you, within your higher self. And we are not taught how to access this through our education system, through society, which is a shame, because this is where true self-empowerment comes from. When we know how to tap into our higher self, there is nothing that can get in our way. We literally become limitless in our life. Our higher self holds the blueprint for our perfect health, as well as literally all the resources that we need to fulfill our purpose in this lifetime. And here's the kicker. We can't access our higher self through our conscious mind, our thinking mind that we are taught about and taught to use through our entire education system. We must access our higher self through our unconscious mind, which is the other 90%, and often not mentioned in society and in our school system. Many people don't even realize the role of our unconscious mind and how important it is in our ability to do everything that we do in our life. We know that, we breathe every second of every day, and our heart is pumping blood through our system every second of every day. We know that our digestive system turns on every time we put food in our mouth, and it breaks down the food and it gets the nutrients out to our cells. And all of that is happening outside of our awareness. We're not sitting there saying, okay, now I'm going to eat. Please, digestive system, turn on. Or waking ourselves up in the middle of the night to remember to breathe. This is happening for us, controlled entirely by our unconscious mind, whose number one directive is to run our body. And yet, that might be all we know about our unconscious mind, if we even know that much. it's certainly that was about all I knew about it until I got into the trainings I've been doing over the past 3 years, which are entirely focused on the power of our unconscious mind. And so powerful that this is something that I can't keep to myself, which is why I now have Amplify Impact Academy and a business partner, Billy Adme, and we train programs to teach this to others and get this news out there, because when we understand the power of what we have within, it truly makes sense when somebody says to you, you have everything you need within you. Tap into it. And that's great to hear it. It's great for someone to say it. However, how do I tap into it? Well, that's what we train people how to do. And I'm going to share more with you about that as we go through this podcast. Now, first off, in episode 205, I did an entire episode on the prime directives of the unconscious mind. And there's 20 of them. So I'm going to invite you to go back and listen to that episode if you would like to learn more about the prime directives or job of the unconscious mind. And I want to remind you that our unconscious mind is the other 90% of our mind. The 10% is our conscious mind. And that is literally what we're taught about at school. We're given and taught the tools of the conscious mind. It's our thinking, logical, problem-solving mind. It's the home of our willpower. It's the home of our mental body. We're all very familiar with our conscious mind. And then society tends to teach us that the rest is all woo-woo. And yet, the rest is what keeps us alive, allows us to access all our resources, fulfill our purpose, tap into the fact that we are all energy. And energy healing is a very real thing. Reiki healing, magnified healing, there's so many different healings that we can send vibrationally. We all have our own frequency that we are operating at because we are energy, and we attract people of the same frequency level to ourselves. This isn't woo-woo. This is quantum physics is proving all of this now. And it's fascinating when you start tapping into it and learning more. First, though, let's go back. When we were first born, we are literally born as if we are the hardware of a computer, the very essence of ourselves. And for the next 7 to 9 years of our life, we are literally in our unconscious mind. And we are downloading the software. Download, download, download. All the software that we need to learn in order to live by the rules of our family, society, school, etc., etc. And at the same time, we're learning so much. We're in our theta brainwave, learning to smile, to roll over, to sit up, to crawl, to walk, learning language, etc., etc., etc. And we couldn't do that if we weren't in our unconscious mind. And so this is designed very deliberately for our best ability to be able to learn so much in those first few years of our lives. And the unconscious mind is the home of our imagination, which is why kids, they're entirely in their imagination for those first few years of their lives. It's why they start to question things when they get to being around age 7 to 9, when their critical faculty starts to develop. That's when they start to learn logical thinking and start to question things like, how can he get all the way around the earth in one night? I'm not even specifying names in case there's children listening to this at the same time you are. Until that point, they're entirely in their imagination. And so if they're playing games, riding a broomstick and saying it's a horse, in their mind, it really is a horse. And so if you go and ask them for the broom because you need the broom to sweep the floor, they're going to look at you for a second because it's not a broom. It's a horse. Get with it, Mom. Come on. And it's such a wonderful time in our lives when we really are tapped in to that other 90%. We're literally living in it. And then age 7 to 9, we develop the critical faculty. We start to have a degree of separation between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind, which is this lace-like structure that allows ease of flow of information between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind because they do communicate. However, if we don't have the tools and we're not encouraged to keep using our unconscious mind and tapping into our imagination and all the other tools that we can learn to have and use with our unconscious mind, that critical faculty comes a little bit more like a brick wall. And it means there's less flow between our conscious and our unconscious mind. And they're not necessarily playing on the same team. And it's kind of like you got the little angel on your shoulder and you got the devil on your shoulder, and they're going, nyeh, 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 and arguing with each other. What we want to do is we want to bring the two together to play on the same team. And that's what we teach in our programs, is getting into rapport with your unconscious mind, which means learning the tools of your unconscious mind so that you can work with it more, making friends with your unconscious mind. One of my colleagues writes love letters to her unconscious mind because it is so powerful. And why not appreciate the unconscious mind that has the potential to do so much for you and guide your life in wonderful ways that you can't even imagine if you haven't even been taught the power of your unconscious mind. And I just love, love, love sharing this information with people because it's eye-opening for people. The ahas when people realize, oh my goodness, I had no idea. They start tapping into the tools of hypnosis, of timeline therapy, of using pendulum work, many other techniques and tools that we teach in our trainings. It just allows us to be in a place of so much greater ease in our life. We jokingly have an easy button in our trainings because people say it can't be that easy. We've been programmed, again, to think that, life has to be hard. It's all programming. Life doesn't have to be hard. It's not meant to be hard. Life is meant to be easy. And I'm not saying that's not without effort. Effort is involved. However, life gets to be easy when we have the right tools for the job. And if we're using our conscious mind, the 10%, to try to accomplish everything in our life, it isn't always going to be easy because we're only using the 10%. Why not tap into the other 90%? And I mentioned the downloading of our programs before as young children. We're getting all of the programs downloaded into our system so that we know how to behave in society and show up in life. And here's the thing. The unconscious mind, because it has so many jobs to do, once it has these programs, if the programs work, it doesn't update them. And we don't even realize that they can be updated. And the reality is they can be. We can literally rewire your neurology so that you do a new behavior. And we stop the inner 5-year-old running your life. So coming back to that question, do you feel stuck? If you're feeling stuck, as I said, lack of resources, and potentially because your inner 5-year-old isn't qualified to run your adult life. And yet he or she is, because you didn't know that you could update your programming. We update the programming on our phones and all of our devices the moment we get an alert that there's an update. We update it because we want the best version. We don't get updates about ourselves, and so we don't realize that we can actually update our own programming as well. And that's the beautiful thing here, is that we can do that. So if you're feeling stuck, great news. Let's update your programming so that we can bring you to a place where now you can see the resources that are available to you. When we're stuck because we think there's no way out, that we don't have any resources available. There's nothing left. We can't move forward. And cancel to all of that. When we're feeling stuck, we need the support of another person who can help us bring into our awareness where we're stuck and the resources that we need. And very often that may be an update where we rewire some neurology, and it's fast. Working with the unconscious mind is really fast. In a matter of 20 minutes, over and over again, I will rewire people's neurology around food. They are eating food that they know isn't healthy for them. They're eating too much of it. They think I'll just have a couple cookies or a couple brownies or a couple of chips, and then they eat the whole bag. And they don't want to do that anymore. And so we rewire the neurology so that they no longer even want it. We map it over onto something that's absolutely disgusting to them that they will not put in their mouth. And then they don't even want it anymore. And in 20 minutes, we can make this transition for them and shift their behavior as a result of rewiring the neurology. This is powerful work. This is what I'm talking about when I say we have it within us. Sometimes we need to work with another person who's trained in the tools of the unconscious mind in order for us to be able to access it. However, we have it within us. Now, I also want to come back to talking about being stuck and how you're behaving when you're stuck. Are you living on victim island? Victim island is where there's a lot of drama going on, a lot of repetition of the woe is me story, where have lots of excuses. We have no time, no money, no energy. We're just stuck. It feels gross and we don't like it. And yet we're camping in it, sharing our sob story with as many people as possible. And guess what? That just deepens the neurology of it. And when we're not sharing our sob story with as many people as possible, we're feeling really isolated and alone, which in and of itself isn't pleasant or comfortable. Wouldn't you rather be on Solution City? Because in Solution City, you got a beachfront condo, restaurants are better, there's personal power stores where you can go into any store and just don your personal power suit and it's totally free and stand in your power. This is where you are in charge of your creativity, your outcomes. You are taking responsibility. You are in community. And this is where your language and your mindset is very different in that you're doing your best as opposed to over on Victim Island, you're trying to do things. What does that word try mean anyway? If you stop and think about it, it doesn't mean anything. Because if I were to ask you to hold a pen on your hand and try to pick it up, you'll either pick it up or you won't. You'll decide to pick it up or you'll decide that you won't. So try didn't mean anything there. You can't try to pick it up. You either do or you don't. And when we use the word try, it gives our unconscious mind an out. Yeah, it's okay if I don't do that. I'll try and do it. It's okay if I don't. Doesn't matter. We want to be choosing to do our best to make that decision to move forward. That's living in Solution City versus being stuck on Victim Island. And so all of our work moves people from Victim Island, where again, a lot of what's going on is outside our awareness, over to Solution City by bringing whatever their issue is to their awareness, showing them how to take responsibility for that. And in bringing them over to Solution City, it opens up many more resources as well. Now, one quick question that I love to use moving from Victim Island to Solution City, because, we're all human, life happens. We end up on Victim Island. When we have the training and when we have the tools of the unconscious mind, though, we recognize it really quickly. And we're like, oh, I'm over here again. I don't want to be here. How can I get off Victim Island? And my favorite question is to ask, how is this happening for me? What am I supposed to learn? And those questions really help me move back over to Solution City so that I can keep moving forward. As opposed to Victim Island, the question that we ask ourselves is, why is this happening to me? That's a Victim Island question. Ditch that question and start asking, how is this happening for me? And you can add to that, what am I supposed to learn? That moves you over to Solution City. And when you get to Solution City, there's a whole lot more resources there for you. And you're in community. You have support. You're not feeling alone. And we were never meant to do life alone. We are meant to be in community. And it's a matter of finding your tribe. Who are the like-minded people? Who are the people functioning at the same frequency level as you? Those are your tribe. They are your community. And they too will help you off victim island the moment you get there. When you reach out and go, ah, I'm on victim island, they'll reach out and they'll pull you back up, back over to Solution City. And that's the power of this work, because we can waste a lot of time in our life hanging out on victim island. And that's just wasted time that you never get back. Once you know the difference between victim island and Solution City, and you have the tools to get you there, and you're using them, because of course, a tool is no good to you if you don't use it, you can land on victim island and then bounce right back over to Solution City. You know, the first time you go from victim island to Solution City, it might be in a rowboat, and it might be a lot of hard work. A lot of effort is going into this, learning new skills, implementing them. And it takes effort. It's not hard. It takes effort. And then what happens is the more you use your tools, the next time you land on victim island, now you might have a great little Sea-Doo, and you can hop on your Sea-Doo and zip right back over to Solution City. And then the next time, as you continue to use your tools and master and perfect them and continue to learn and grow yourself, because that's what life is all about, continuing to learn and grow and up-level ourselves. Now you've got a great big red speedboat, and you can just zip right back to Solution City. And I love using my speedboat to zip me right back to Solution City, because it is so much more fun over here. And I love the community over here. And that's where I choose to live. And it is a choice. Every single situation in our lives, we always have a choice. And I realize when we're in the muck, it may not feel like we have a choice. And we might feel really stuck. And that's when we go into the woe is me and we go into victim island. And the moment we can lift our head up and go, wait a minute, I have a choice. I have a choice to stay and camp on victim island, or I have a choice to ask a couple questions and move myself to Solution City. And in moving myself to Solution City, I can start to open up and see more resources. I can start to work with community and reach out to community for support. And that's powerful. And that's within you. And those questions again are, how is this happening for me? And what am I supposed to learn? Now, here's something else that I want to share with you. It's in regards to your version of the world. Are you running the horror show, or are you running the love story? Whether you run the horror show or whether you run the love story is determined by the filters that, again, are in your unconscious mind. All human beings have the same categories of filters. They are how you move through time, space, matter, and energy, your memories, your language, your values and beliefs, your decisions, your meta programs, which are the basis of your personality. Those categories are the same for all human beings. However, because we have not all lived identical lives, the content within those filters that is there based on all your life experiences make them as different as your fingerprints. And so as a result, it's your filters that are dictating whether you are running the love story or the horror show. Do you think life is out to get you? Or do you think life is a wonderful opportunity for you to go out and create the life that you want? You see, every second of every day, we are taking in 12 million bits per second of information. And that's a lot of information. And it's actually too much for our mind, as powerful as it is, to be able to cope with. And so what it does is it has to compress that down to a manageable amount of information. And it does this through a process we call delete, distort, and generalize. And it compresses it down to a manageable amount of 128 bits per second, plus or minus 2. And what it does then is it compresses that down even further into themes, which comes down to just 5 plus or minus 2. From 12 million all the way down to that. That's a lot of deleting and distorting and generalizing based on what's in your filters. So, and this is all done outside of your awareness because it's done by the unconscious mind, and it's just going delete, delete, delete. Oh, keep this one, distort, delete, distort, keep in the files of all of the experiences that you've ever had in your life. And that results in whether you run the horror show or whether you run the love story. This is why your version of reality is different to everyone else's, because your version of reality is completely dependent on your filters, which are as different as your fingerprints. So, as an example, you could go to a concert with 49,999 other people, and one of those other people that is there is a friend of yours. And it's a wonderful concert. And afterwards, when people ask you about the concert, the things you tell about the concert are really different to the things your friend mentions about the concert. Because you're talking about what's important to you based on your filters, and she's talking about what's important to her based on her filters. And to the listener, it could have been two completely different concerts. Another great example is, have you ever been to a family reunion and somebody in the family starts talking about an event that starts 5 years ago or that happened 5 years ago? And they start talking about it, and you're listening going, wait a minute, that's not what happened. This is what happened. And they're like, no, 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 this is what happened. And before long, there's a little bit of an argument going on as to what really happened. And this used to happen to me all the time. And I used to think there was something wrong with my siblings' memories. And I would also want to be right, thinking that they were wrong. And what I've realized is that we are all talking about our version of reality. So they remember that event based on their version of reality, and I remember the event based on mine. We're both speaking our truth, and they don't align because that's their version of reality. Excuse me. And I have mine. And that was kind of mind blowing to understand that. I'd never stopped to think that what I was experiencing out there in the world was different to the other people who were experiencing it with me. And yet now that I understand this so deeply, it makes so much sense. And the beautiful thing is that if you are running the horror show, you don't have to keep running the horror show. We can change your reality really quickly for you because all we have to do is we change the filters. We literally change the filters. We use a tool called timeline therapy, and that allows you to release all the stuffed down negative emotion that you've been carrying around as baggage that impacts the horror show. It also allows us to release the limiting decisions that you're carrying around, that I'm not good enough, powerless, unlovable, unworthy, cancel, 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 and more. Not smart enough, pretty enough, da 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 da, cancel, 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 and release those. And as we shift those, it shifts your filters. So then you can run the love story. Your memory, of any event that happens in your life, your vision of what's going on becomes the love story, becomes something that you want, that makes you hopeful, makes you happy and joyful, versus fearful and stressed out in the horror show situation. How much better would life be if you could wake up every day feeling happy, joyful, and excited about the day instead of stressed out and fearful? What we also can do is shift your state very quickly, again, using tools of the unconscious mind. If you get frustrated by certain behaviors of other people, we can shift that so that those behaviors, they're other people, you can't change them. What we can do is we can change how you respond to it so that you don't get frustrated. Literally, in up to 5 to 15 seconds, you tap an anchor that we've created and it shifts how you feel based on their behavior. How powerful is that? And this is so easy, we can teach it to kindergartners. And I wish we did teach it to kindergartens because the teacher's life would be so much easier at school if the kids could control their state. We also love to work with hypnotherapy. After we release all the negative emotions, the limiting decisions, we've created space in the unconscious mind for beautiful suggestions to your unconscious mind around what it is that you're wanting to do instead. And hypnotherapy is great for changing behaviors. So much better than using willpower. Remember, willpower is housed in the 10% of the conscious mind, right? Hypnotherapy is the 90%. So much more effective. And we've now created this space. So let's put beautiful suggestions in for your unconscious mind about what you want now, who you are today, not the 5-year-old that was running your life. And what is so powerful about all of this work, it's an entire system that we work on. And in a very short amount of time, we can literally shift your behaviors. And what's different with us, though, is we don't start shifting at the behavior. That's not where we start the work. And that is the work of many conscious coaches. When we work with the unconscious mind, remember, we start with shifting the filters, shifting the neurology that results in different behaviors. And it's so much easier because we like to do things the easy way. And we like to make the most amount of change with the least amount of work. And that's why we follow a system. And you will literally no longer be doing your problem as your neurology has changed. And that results in new behaviors that lead you where you want to go. At the master practitioner level in our work, we can actually guarantee our results to our clients in writing. And there's not many coaches out there in the world that can do that. And we can because the client will no longer be doing their problem because we've changed their neurology. And that allows them to behave differently. That's how powerful this work is. And again, if you're still sitting there going, this sounds too easy, that's the programming. That's the programming from the 0 to 7-year-old age group, where we got programmed that life is meant to be all about hard work. And it simply isn't true when we learn the tools of tapping into our unconscious mind and our higher self. And if you feel it's hard, it simply means you're using the wrong tool for the job. Effort is involved, absolutely. And learning the tools to work with is critical, as with everything. And so far, most people have only learned the tools of working with their conscious mind. Is it time for you now to dive in to learning the tools of your unconscious mind? Because these are life skills that you can use every day to make your life easier, more joyful, more healthy, more productive, more fun. Who doesn't want that? You know, we just ran our first master practitioner training. It's a 13-day fast track program where our students receive 4 different breakthroughs in the process. And we are loving hearing them now share all the things they are doing differently in their lives that are just happening. They're not even having to think about it. One lady expressed literally 2 days after her breakthrough, I'm noticing that I'm getting up in the morning and prioritizing myself, making myself an egg for breakfast because I feel like it versus looking after everybody else first and then never getting around to my own breakfast. And that was something that she needed to shift in her breakthrough, was to recognize that she needed to prioritize herself. And she was starting to see ways that she was just naturally doing that. She didn't even have to think about it. Before, she had to think about it. And now she was just doing the behavior. Another student who previously had been unwilling to stand out and celebrate her successes because she was taught that if she shone her light too brightly, it would dim someone else's, which doesn't even make sense because when you turn on one light, it doesn't make another light dim. However, that was her childhood programming, and that's what had been running through her entire life. And we changed her neurology, and now she's noticing that she is sharing her wins, and she was sharing them with us very proudly and recognizing how far she had come just in her ability to share her wins and not feel like she was dimming someone else's. And she also realized that now she was no longer looking for problems to solve. Instead, she was looking for things to celebrate. And here's what's so beautiful about that is we get what we focus on. So previously, she'd been looking for problems to solve. That was what her go-to was. And so she would get more problems. And then she would have a lot of time spent solving all of these problems, her problems, other people's problems. And now she's finding as she looks for things to celebrate, she's getting more things to celebrate, which allows her to be in a happier state and have a lot more time on her hands because she doesn't have all these problems anymore. So instead, she can focus on what she wants to create in her life. And that's absolutely beautiful. We literally get what we focus on. So my question to you is, what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on your victim story, or are you focusing on your solution city plans? And what I love about all of this is we are so malleable, and anything, any area in your life that isn't working for you, we can shift some neurology in order to shift behavior so that it can be. And if you think you can't change, here's an interesting fact for you. There are more than 10 to the power of 10 to the power of 11 neurological connections in your body. That is how many opportunities you have to change. And that number is so big that I have no idea how to say it. And it is more than all the grains of sand on all the beaches in the world. You can change. You can rewire your neurology to create new behavior and do this the easy way. Just let me know when you're ready. I'm here. I do this work one-to-one with clients, and I have clients come through our training because even the trainings are for self. Yes, there's certifications so that you can work with others. However, some people take them just for self, to be a better parent, a better partner, a better leader. We had one fellow take our course to improve his golf game, and he did. And he was so impressed. And that was his sole purpose in taking the training. The certifications didn't matter. These are life skills, and our introductory level is an 8-day practitioner training. We absolutely love sharing this with people because we love bringing ease and flow into your life and giving you the life skills to work with to make your life easy, to have you running the love story in your life each and every day, to have you living in Solution City. All learning, all behavior, and all change is unconscious. And I know that may be hard to believe coming out of a school system where they teach us about our conscious mind. However, that is the reality, and it has to happen in that order. First, the learning, the academic learning, and then the behavior, the action steps to put it in place. And then that creates the change that you're looking for, which is why all of our programs are highly experiential. We give you the learning and we give you the behavior and the opportunity to experience it and practice it as we build that neurology. The learning and the neurological changes creates a little tiny bunny trail in your mind. And we have to practice it to turn that bunny train into a 2-lane road and then a 4-lane road. And then before you know it, it's an 8-lane highway. That's the behavior. And that's how we get the change that you're looking for, where your behavior is automatically going this way, not that way. This way, not that way. Whatever wasn't working for you before, it's not happening because now we've rewired the neurology, we've added in the behavior, the action step to deepen that neurological pathway so it's automatically going this way in the direction you want to go. And that's the power of this work. That is true self-development. There's a lot of shelf development out there where people read books and then put the book on the shelf. They love the book and do nothing, and then they wonder why there's no change. It's because there was no behavior to accompany that academic learning. And so that's why our programs are highly experiential, so that you get the behavior as well. And you might be wondering, this is really interesting. I want to check it out. I'm not sure that I want to do an 8-day training right off the bat. And that's okay. Come to our next Meet Your Unconscious Mind workshop to learn more. It's a 2-hour free workshop to build on what I've shared here, and you can start actively learning about your unconscious mind and all of the opportunities that are available to you when you learn the tools and start implementing them so that you can grow and live a life of ease and joy and happiness, and then share this with others. Because every single human being has access to their unconscious mind. They just haven't learned the tools to use it yet. And that's the message that I want to get out today, is come and learn the tools and enjoy a life of much greater ease and flow. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can tell I'm very passionate about this work. And if you enjoyed this podcast and you know someone else that could benefit from listening to it, please share it with them as well. Everybody needs to know there is an easier way and to understand what it truly means when we have all of the resources inside of us. And they just need to learn how to access them. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you being here to learn about all aspects of your health, your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health. Without your health, you can't live your best life. It's all connected. And I honor you for tuning in to the Don't Wait for Your Wake Up Call podcast to always be learning more.